Hello everyone, this is Gary Bennett. Welcome to Chapter 9, Comparing Data Using Swift at ExcelMe. For those of you that are attending live, I will be taking questions at the end. I'll stop the YouTube recording and I'll take questions. And those of you that are listening on YouTube, you can email me or post on the forum anytime. And all that information is available here on the free video site as well. You can see the YouTube, register for the live webinars, and see the schedule down here, what we're covering at any given time. And those of you that are hanging on for the 6 o'clock class, the paid class, tonight we start probably, I think, is probably the funnest of all the courses. It's the last one in the series. iPad and the Internet of Things. We'll be going over the iPad, but also going over HomeKit, HealthKit, WatchKit, which is going to be hopefully finalized next week at Apple's media event on Tuesday. So I'll be also covering probably a good 3 classes of WatchKit in that class as well. So looking forward to that. We'll be starting that tonight at 9. Again, all classes are recorded and live, so you have access to both as well. All right, so let's get started with comparing data using Swift. A little bit different than Objective-C. I like it a lot better than Objective-C, the if statements. So let's kind of walk through it. So in comparing data, we're going to use if statements. The chapter 9, talks also about other mechanisms to compare data, like a switch statement, but I'm going to focus tonight on if statements tonight and comparing the data with it, because I think that is enough for tonight. All right, so let's talk. Here we have 2 integers. You can see by definition they don't have a decimal point, so Swift knows these are of type integers. These 2 here are floats, okay? .00 floats, so they have a decimal point. All right, so if we want to compare data, if we want to compare if I is less than j, this is the syntax. We have less than, we can use greater than, and then we can use less than or equal, greater than or equal, and then the not symbol, the exclamation point for a unary operator. All right, so here we're comparing 2 integers. So if I is less than j, so we're going to print out true if it is, false if it's not. Well, I is 5, j is 6, so yes, it is less than, it goes to true. All right, let's look if it was k. Let's do L here and k here. All right, we'll change that. And that goes to false because L is 8, k is 7, so that it's actually greater than, it's false. Let's look if we did k and I. Very important to distinguish between what's going on here. Okay, you see we get an error. It's because we're not comparing the same type of data. Okay, so we're comparing an integer with a float or a double. Okay, and it doesn't like that. So you want to make sure you compare types, or at least aware of types, before you change the casting of that. So let's get that, change that back and make that happy. All right, so that's if, and you can see in Objective-C, we would put parentheses around what we were trying to do comparisons in. All right, not necessary. Oops, I'm sorry, let me get this back to I and J here. There we go, I and J. So the parentheses are optional. They're not required in Swift. And then if you want to do, have multiple comparisons, so we wanted to do an and or an or. So here we're doing an or statement with k is less than L. Okay. So here's an or. We could also do our and. Right. Now, very important in Chapter 9, I go through truth tables. And I tell you the difference between and or ors. It's very important that you understand those truth tables in Chapter 9. You don't have to memorize them, but take the time to go to go through those truth tables. Very important that you understand how Boolean logic works. All right, next let's compare strings. How do we compare strings to see if two strings are equal? Probably the most important. Well, it's a lot different in Swift than Objective-C. So here we have two vars. They're of type string, you can see, because they're assigned strings. And so, again, the compiler is smart enough to understand that. And we can now do double equal. We can say, is dog equal to dog1 equal to dog2? We can do that with the double equal. In Objective-C, we had to use a method to compare. We could not do it this way. If we did it this way, it was wrong because it was comparing pointer locations, memory locations. In Objective-C, this is how we do it. And likewise here, we can see if we did comparing to see if two numbers are equal. Okay, that's how we would compare that with the double equal here. And that's how we do it with strings. Okay, so the syntax is a lot more concise with Swift on doing strings because we had to use a method, a string method, is string equal, to be able to compare strings. So that's how, and if I change this to my favorite dog, Comet, all right, and we can see that this gets false because dog1 is not equal to dog2. Dog1 is Spot, dog2 is Comet. It falls through. Okay. So that is data comparison in a nutshell. Again, explained much more in Chapter 9. Of course, I go into a lot more detail in my paid courses, but you kind of get the idea. And if you have any questions, feel free to post it on the forum. Send me an email, or if you're attending live, I'll take the questions here at the end of the live recording. Anyway, for those that are attending through YouTube, thanks for attending, and look forward to seeing you next Monday. I'm going to stop the recording now and take questions. Thanks, everybody.